SMT Nation, we back. In today's video, we've got Dish news. They're doing something interesting, which actually could be industry-wide, really, really important. Also, some Verizon news. I don't know, man. It's a very bold claim. It's going to open up the discussions, I'm sure. And then lastly, something local and unique in Meta funding fixed wireless access in Cleveland. All right, let's cover these three stories today. A bit of a longer video, but you could find the chapters down here, and you can skip ahead or go back or whatever. All right, let's start first with the Dish story. FierceWireless.com. I'll go ahead and put a link to this in the description. Actually, all links for all articles in the description. All right, so they got their eyes set on high power CBRS testing. These would be considered probably like the first field experiments to see how CBRS band 48, which will be N48, it's 3550 in terms of its frequency. It's a low power frequency, and the reason for this is because of DoD rules and military ops. It's got a couple different layers of tiers of priority. It's got the military, right, who that gets priority under or overall, and then there's PALs, PALs, private access licenses. That's what the carriers are using if they purchased it, and then there's GAA or general access, and that's essentially unlicensed form of CBRS. So Dish, they bought CBRS. They have PALs. There's also unlicensed spectrum that they can use in this frequency as well. But the most important thing that Dish is focusing on is trying to convince the FCC to change the rules and the guidelines on how these, in this case, band 48 CBRS N48 gets powered. All right. It's on low power because of those rules with the DoD. And T-Mobile uses CBRS a little bit. Verizon is huge on CBRS, and Dish wants to do it too. They would love to see higher power go to this frequency. There's even fixed wireless providers out there that are using it, including some of the cable companies that are using it for their small cells and fixed wireless to offload traffic for from Verizon usage. Anyways, they want to see this stuff go high power, and I don't blame them. The 3 gigahertz frequency is loaded with potential. You see what C-band could do with high power. We're going to see what DoD can do, the 3.45 gigahertz can do with high power. So CBRS would be a game changer if it did indeed go high power. So they're going to be testing the 3.5 gigahertz frequency, and they're doing so in Boulder, Colorado area. And that's interesting because we got the bearded dragon out there. Maybe he's been able to spot some of this going on. The crested period of operation is from November 1st through February 28th of next year. All right, so that looks like about a handful of months they're going to be doing some evaluations. And, this kind of explains the difference in how these, types of frequencies work. Again, GAA is the unlicensed form. PALs or PALs are the licensed form. And the reason why they want to see this change is because of this, the power levels. They want to get it more akin to the C-band power levels, which would mean they would be exponentially increasing the power. So that way it works more effectively indoors. It propagates better. The range will likely multiply. Right now on a tall macro, CBRS is probably like a good mile in terms of its reach. On a small cell, it's probably like a third of a mile. If you increase the power on that, all of that potential increases. All right. But this would be really good to see. I will say this would be huge. It would be a game changer. But there's a lot of politics to this. This will not be easy to do. Some would even say that it's probably not going to happen, but I'm hopeful. And I know it would be great for carriers and us as consumers. Another very effective, high-powered 3 gigahertz frequency, just like C-band. It would be huge. Maybe they could even fix up the naming of the bands, right? They could just make it all N77, N48, and then call it a day. All right, comment down below on that. All right, next story. Pivoting to the Verizon news. Their network person, I still don't know how to pronounce the name, Kipi, says the operator will have the best 5G network. That's a bold claim because you've got game competition in both AT&T and T-Mobile and Dish, right? Dish coming into the fold. All right, so Verizon may be behind T-Mobile when it comes to deploying its mid-band 5G network. We know that T-Mobile's got a 2-year jump on the rest of the competition, but based on the way the C-band 5G deployment is going, they think they're going to have the best 5G network when it's all said and done. Currently, they have 60 megahertz of C-band spectrum live. In most places, they have it. In some places, it has gone to 100 megahertz because they've been early clearing more spectrum from satellite over to the cellular operations. And I think when it's all said and done at the end of 2023, regardless of whether or not whatever markets get early cleared, they own somewhere in the neighborhood of 140 to 200 megahertz in your market. In my market, I think they have 140 or 160, I forget. I'd say like in half of the geographical space in the country, they have like 200 megahertz. In most large PAs, they have 160 or 180. So they have a ton of spectrum that they can play with once it's all cleared. It says here that the Verizon executive wants to get the C-band 5G network at about 250 million pops by the end of 24, and combine that with their CBRS spectrum and millimeter wave, it will have the best 5G network, period. Guys, this is really hard to argue, and I'll explain why. The N77, their C-band, is going to be a very deep channel. It's going to be 140 to 200 megahertz. On top of that, there are many sites where they also throw in CBRS, which is N48 and 5G, right? Whenever they decide to go live on their standalone core, they can aggregate band N48 with N77, and they have the deepest build of millimeter wave across the country. Nobody has anything remotely close to what they've already done in many of these metros. It's really very hard to argue that once they approach this 250 million pops mark with C-band and get the CBRS going for N48, and then on top of the millimeter wave, it will be absolutely astonishing. Now, T-Mobile does have a lot of mid-band. They've got a lot of N41, and that's what they're going to hang their hat on. But they don't have currently a secondary channel that is deep like the CBRS will be at 30 to 40, sometimes 60 or 70 megahertz of N48. And then, they have the other stuff too. And then, so I guess this is kind of a wild card. When is T-Mobile going to push the PCS into the fold, right? When are they going to start doing N25 or N2, right? So then I think we're probably talking about T-Mobile doing something similar and combining N71, N41, and N25, right? So that's where things start to get a little bit interesting. And again, AT&T is nothing to sleep on. They got 40 megahertz of 3.45. They got 80 or 100 megahertz, depending on your market, of the 3.7. They've got all this other stuff in the band 30 and band 29 and band 14 and band 12 and band 2 and band 66. And they also do some millimeter wave in some places. So they have bands to support their network. This is a very bold claim. This is a very tough claim to make, but it can be supported because Verizon does have a pedigree of excellence. They do have a lot of spectrum to work with. They're going to be pushing their backhaul, multi-gig circuits on all these sites probably, and they are a fiber owner. They're looking to run about 50% of their towers with their own fiber. So that gives them an advantage in that way. So T-Mobile's got the jump, right? They're ahead. Verizon's got the pedigree and the deep channels, and then they own some fiber, and then AT&T is the same type of situation, flexibility with the carrier aggregation, and they're going to run 75% of their sites will get their fiber, right? All those things to their advantage. This is a very tough statement to make, but it does warrant some consideration. So what do you guys think? You tell me if you agree with this executive from Verizon, they'll have the best 5G network when it's all said and done, or do you think it's going to be a different carrier, and explain why? All right, last story, round things out. Long episode. Thanks for sticking around. Like this video for me, y'all. All right, Meta helps fund fixed wireless for Cleveland public housing. All right, so this is hitting home. Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook, is helping to fund fixed wireless service for public housing in Cleveland. The company teamed with Digital C, a local nonprofit focused on connecting the unconnected in the city, on the offering, which, according to the spokesperson, use a combination of fiber and millimeter wave spectrum, but will not be based on the telegraph technology that Meta helped develop. Okay, so they're going to be using existing infrastructure of fiber, and then probably putting up some point-to-point millimeter wave gear akin to what Starry is doing with their setups, probably. There are access points inside buildings connected directly to the middle mile. So they're just bringing in another option for people. That's pretty nice stuff here. The Meta Digital Sea offering is now available to 4 public housing developments. The goal of bringing service to 1,000 households. All right, good stuff. I'm excited about this. They're going to be selling it for $18 a month, $19.44 after taxes. Eligible residents can also receive subsidies, according to Valerian in this article. The Digital Sea has been offering fixed wireless under the name Empower CLE Plus. I think I did a story on this last year, but they were using CBRS, I believe, when I reported this. Oh, there it is. LT equipment from Nokia in the CBRS band. So I don't know where they offer this. I guess I should probably do some searches and see where it is and take a look at some of the gear. That sounds interesting. If they're putting it on the premise, it might not be visible. I don't want to be a creeper looking at people's properties. But if it's on like a rooftop site or something, that would be kind of cool. Anyways, I'll look into it. They do offer somewhere in the range of about a gigabit per second using the millimeter wave spectrum as a fixed wireless technology. It says some equipment supporting technology is already on the market. All right, I'm very excited about this. We need more co-ops like this. I think this is the way to go. And Meta, obviously, they've got a vested interest in getting people connected and on their services. Stealing their data. But I'm just saying, right, that it's good to see that there's motivation to offer people connectivity options utilizing existing infrastructure and giving people options. 18 bucks is dirt cheap, y'all. To get gigabit performance at a fixed wireless sounds tremendous. As long as it's dependable, as long as it's reliable, it's an option, so we're definitely into that. Big props to the folks here in this project. Awesome, amazing. Can't wait to see if I can find some of this and where it's offered. Tell me your thoughts on this story. Tell me about the Verizon claim. Tell me about the Dish CBRS. You guys think this is going to work out for Dish? Do you think this is going to work out for the industry? You think DoD is going to be too rough? Won't allow it to happen. The FCC won't be able to pull their arm. I know the Bearded Dragon's got comments on all this stuff. I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say on this. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Like, share, subscribe for more. Turn on the bell notification. Never miss an upload. Links in the description for all the articles, my Twitter, my Gmail address for business inquiries, and my Patreon page if you want to support us and get early access to content exclusives not found anywhere else. Thanks for watching. See you all in the next one. Peace.